Gregory is back with another video for you guys. Today I want to discuss the top 5 most expensive video game sales ever. Before we get started, if you could like and subscribe down below, it really helps me to keep creating content like this. I want to keep making videos that talk about video game collecting, prices, investing, all of that stuff. Teaching you how to be a better collector. And the best way I can do that is if you support the channel. So, top 5 most expensive video game sales ever. So this price list is as of January 2021. And unsurprisingly, all of these items come from Heritage Auctions. Now, if you're not familiar with Heritage Auctions, it is one of the higher end auction houses that do cater to video games as of recent. In the past about 2 years, they introduced video game sales into their auction catalog, and the prices of high end video games have exploded concurrently with those auctions. The prices you're going to see on these video games may seem high, but they also do art auctions, historic coin auctions, and the like, which ends in prices in the millions. So, even if you see a video game that sells for 100,000, you just know that this is actually a small sale in the grand scheme of what they deal with. Another thing to note, all the items you're going to see are factory sealed and graded by WATA. If you're not familiar with WATA, they are a leading video game grading service. They will authenticate and assess condition, much like that of trading card grading or coin grading. It's the same thing, they do it for video games. The WATA scale will rate both the condition of the box and the condition of the shrink wrap separately. So on that, you're going to see that these items I show have a rating of, say, 9.8. The high-end WATA scale goes from 9.0 up to 10.0. with the 0.2 increments along the way. For all practical purposes, the best you can expect is a 9.8, as a 10.0 is hardly ever given out. With the seal rating, in the high end you'll see A, A+, and A++. An A seal rating is still quite nice. An A++ is basically case fresh. You can have very minor imperfections, but it's the nicest of the nice. Another thing, I'm not going to include the Nintendo PlayStation sale in this list. I want to leave this list purely up to the video games themselves that have been sold. If you include the Nintendo PlayStation, it is the highest video game related item that has sold to date. Also, for the sake of diversity, there is one item on this list that appears 3 times actually within the top 5, so I'm going to collapse all 3 of those sales into one ranking, just so that we can see a few different games on this list. I'll still talk about each sale and why it's distinct from the other, but I didn't want the list to be this game again, and this game again. Last thing, these are public sales. Now, you may know of or have heard of sales of more than the items I'm about to show, but they are much harder to verify that any kind of transaction took place other than a he said, she said at that point. So I'm only going with public sales records for the purpose of this list, which I'm pretty sure the list still includes everything. If you happen to know of anything more expensive than what I'm about to show you on this list, make sure you put it down below. I would love to hear about it. With that out of the way, let's jump into the list. Number 5. The first item on the list, coming in at $75,000, is the first print, first release Mega Man for Nintendo Entertainment System. Sold on November 22nd, 2019. At the time of the sale, this actually became the second most expensive video game sale ever. As of now, it sits in the list at number 5. So, why $75,000 for this Mega Man? To begin, it's factory sealed. That is the first thing you need. The second thing you need is the proper variation, which you can see on the Heritage Auction, they call it the Dr. Wright version. This is because on the back of the box, there's actually a typo, where instead of saying Dr. Wily, they said Dr. Wright on the first run of production. So, now we have it factory sealed, we have the proper variation, and now we have the condition premium of this also being 9.4 A+, which is very high on the rating. There are very few of these that exist sealed. This might be the nicest example sealed, and it's one of the most popular franchises ever created by a video game company that's still running strong. You put all this together and you get a historic piece that is probably deserving of this $75,000 price tag. I can only assume that if it were to be sold now in 2021, that it has the potential to actually double this $75,000 price tag. Number 4. Number 4 on the list actually surprises me the most because I was not aware of this sale. Coming in with a thunderous sale of $78,000, we have Pokemon Yellow. This copy of Pokemon Yellow sold November 20th, 2020 for $78,000. Why did this Pokemon Yellow sell for $78,000? So, off the bat, we have the condition premium of 9.8 A+. As I explained at the beginning of the video, 9.8 is basically the best you can get. A+ could be an A++, but for all intents and purposes, this is a factory fresh copy of Pokemon Yellow. If we look at the listing a little bit more, we can see that this is an early print with the white ESRB logo on the front. There's a bit of debate in the community as to which print comes first, as there also exists a copy of Pokemon Yellow that does not have an ESRB rating on the front at all. So there's a bit of debate as to if the white ESRB is first or the no ESRB is first, but either way, this is an early print Pokemon Yellow in mint condition. Pokemon Yellow isn't actually all that rare when it comes to factory sealed ones. Given the sales of Pokemon Yellow alone, the Pokemon games can be found factory sealed quite a bit. Now, I'm not saying that to say that you can walk out there and go buy a Pokemon Yellow in this condition for less than what was paid, but compared to other items on this list, this Pokemon Yellow has the best chance of existing in multiples of this condition. That's all I'm saying. Do you have a 9.8 A+ condition sealed Pokemon Yellow? Probably not. And that's why this item sold for the premium price it did. And this was also a perfect storm of right when Logan Paul Pokemon craze was taking place. So with the cards skyrocketing in price, it made sense that the video games are also going to see record sales. Number 3 on the list, coming in at a record sale price of $84,000 is Pokemon Red. What, you thought Yellow was going to be the only Pokemon game on this list? And this item actually sold in the same auction as the Pokemon Yellow. For those that don't know, Heritage runs their auctions over the span of 3 days, so there's a lot of items that come and each auction sequentially takes place. So the Pokemon Yellow sold, and then maybe 6 items later the Pokemon Red would go up for auction as well. So this Pokemon Red, what is there to say? The most iconic Pokemon game ever made? You have Pokemon Red in 9.8 A++ condition. Case perfect, factory perfect, you will not find nicer, is what that grade tells me. So this Pokemon Red sold for $84,000, and you might be surprised to know that it isn't actually a first print of it. So the ceiling for this game is actually higher than $84,000, as this is, to my best knowledge, a second print of the game. You can see that there is a white ESRB rating on the front of the game, but if we look at the back, you have Pidgey fighting Rattata, which on the first print, it's actually Meowth fighting Sandshrew. It's to my knowledge that they changed the back of the game on later prints because Meowth and Sandshrew can only be found in Pokemon Red, but Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue both share the same back of the box. So they went with Pokemon that were available in both of the games, in Pidgey and Rattata. And again, this item sold right in the craze of that Steve Aoki buying first edition Charizards, you had Logic the Rapper buying first edition Charizards, so it makes sense that the video game that features Charizard right on the cover in perfect condition also set a record sale during this time. $84,000 seems like a crazy price, as does the $78,000 for the Pokemon video games. Again, these were some of the best selling video games of all time, and with this Pokemon Red, you're not even at the first printing, so logic would suggest that you can get the second print easier than a first print, so there might be more out there in this condition. However, until they surface or until they go for public auction, this is the new bar set for a mint condition Pokemon Red, and I'm not sure if it's going to go down anytime soon. Number 2. So with number 2 on the list, this is the game where I said I'm going to take the 3 sales that it has and I'm going to combine them into the most expensive sale it has, despite them being different variants of the same game. So number 2, we have Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System, coming in at $114,000. This auction took place July 10th, 2020. Now, you may be thinking that this is the same sale as the Mario Bros. Sticker seal that sold, but that actually sold back in February of 2019. So this printing that sold right here is actually a 6th print from mid-1987. The sticker seal that sold for $100,150 is a 2nd print from early 1986. So we have 2 sales right there. There's also another sale of a 9.8 A+ Mario Bros, a later printing, that sold in September of 2020 for $84,000. That would put it in line with the Pokemon Red. So now I'm sure you can see why I didn't want to include all of these as one sale, as it would take up the number 2 slot, the number 3 slot, and it would be tied for the number 4 slot. And a list that just includes Mario Bros 3 times isn't that exciting. So let's get back to the most expensive sale of Mario Bros to date, the 6th print that sold for $114,000. Now, you may say, why did they pay that much for a 6th print? Why do you want the 6th printing? How come the 6th print outsold the 2nd print? And that is simply because the 2nd print sold in February 2019. If that 2nd printing were to come up for auction again, now, today, the sky is the limit. That thing could sell for $200,000, $300,000 plus. There is no real ceiling, as speculation and investment opportunity is running rampant in this hobby. So the only reason that this particular Mario Bros is the highest is because it is the most current sale of a hang tab Mario Bros. When you get into the variations that get out of the sticker seals, what most collectors are simply looking for is the hang tab variation. So this is the very last Mario Bros to still include a hang tab, but finding a hang tab Mario Bros is still incredibly difficult regardless of variation. All of the other variations on the item are considered micro variations by most collectors, so the hang tab is what matters, but the small little TM underneath Nintendo Entertainment System doesn't really command a price difference versus there not being the TM there. Once we're at this point, you have to get the condition, the 9.4 A+, which is great condition, and you have the hang tab. You have Mario, the most iconic character in the most popular game of all time in Super Mario Bros. I would say this is a collectible that even at 114,000, I don't really see it selling for less the next time it comes up for auction. Before we get to number 1, I just want to give honorable mention to 2 items that are so ubiquitous in the video game collecting world that I feel I would be remiss to not give an update as to what they are currently selling for in this market. The first item I want to look at is Nintendo World Championships Gray cartridge. And this was kind of a bad condition one, albeit when you get into the Nintendo World Championship cartridges, condition doesn't matter as much because there are so very few of them, but keep in mind that this was a 5.0 condition and it sold for $52,800 on November 20th, 2020. There is no recent sale on the gold cartridge. It's fair to assume that it would probably break all records if it came up for open auction, but until it does, we cannot put it on this list. The other honorable mention I want to give is stadium events. Now, Stadium Events held the title as most expensive video game for a long time. If you've been collecting for any amount of time, then you're aware of what Stadium Events is. So, where is it actually selling for now in this market? How did it not make the top 5? It's close. In March 6, 2020, a 9.2 A+ Stadium Events sold for $66,000. So with that sale, it's actually just right outside of the top 5 now. But with stadium events, the biggest issue that happened was it doesn't actually have name brand associated with it. The way video game collecting is going now, the most expensive items are the most name brand ones. We have Pokemon games at the very top, we have Mario games at the very top. If the proper Zelda or Metroid were to sell, those would also go to the top. We have Mike Tyson's Punch-Out selling for $50,000. As the video game hobby has evolved a bit, stadium events has been falling to the wayside a bit, but that doesn't mean that in the future it might not come back to be the number 1. Alright, let's get to it. The most expensive video game sale so far, we have Super Mario Bros. 3 coming in at a record price of $156,000. This Mario Bros. 3 actually sold in the most recent Heritage Signature auctions that took place on November 20th, 2020. Alright, you probably have questions. Why in the did this sell for so much? So, looking at it, we have Super Mario Bros. 3, 9.2 A+ condition. That's really good condition, but as you know, the scale does go up to 9.8, so it's not mint, but it's very nice. The big thing with this Mario Bros. 3 is you can see the word Bros is formatted to the left of the box. Now, this variant signifies the first printing of this game. In later prints, the Bros was moved over to the right side of the box, likely due to the aesthetics of the Bros cutting into his hand. I honestly don't know the real reason. If you do know the real reason it was changed, please comment down below and let me know. So now we get into the discussion of should this item have outsold Mario Bros? Maybe, maybe not. On the one hand, you still have the most iconic video game character ever in Mario, and you have Super Mario Bros. 3, which is arguably the best game ever created, and really it just built upon Mario Bros. 1 to create a better experience. Now, to my knowledge, I have heard that this is not the highest graded copy that exists. There is one nicer, so theoretically, if the nicer one came up for auction, it would end at an even higher price. However, we are not doing any kind of speculation on this list. This is simply what is publicly available and has sold. Like I was saying with Super Mario Bros., the variations really matter at this point. So you have the 9.2 A+ condition, which is very nice, and you have the Left Bros, which is the variant that you need. Other later variants of Super Mario Bros. 3 sell for far less, even under $10,000, under $5,000. When you get into these first print variants in beautiful condition, there are so few that exist out there that if you get the right couple of people in a bidding war, the sky's the limit at this point in video games. So, there you have it. That's the list. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Which items are overpriced? Which ones do you think are underpriced? Let me know down in the comments below. Like I said, I want to keep making content like this and keep you guys up to date in the video game market and also show you the nuance of maybe higher end video game collecting that you aren't aware of. So if you like the content, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And I'll see you next time.